What's that? We're live.
Hands in the air, 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 hands in
Yeah, baby. We are live. We are live. Live like a mofo. We are chilling like Bob Dylan. What's up, Dack? What's up, Truth and Politics? What's up, Dack? Dack is here with us. Let's let some people come in, enter, old seekers of knowledge. You're going to love this one. Oh, you're going to love what I found, man, in the World Wide Web. You're going to love this, man. This guy's like aces right here. This guy is following around politicians, speaking truth to power. Speaking real truth to power, right? Chasing the motherfuckers down. And asking them, hey, what do you think, man? What do you think? On the record, off the record? I'm going to find out all about it, man. I'm going to watch some of his videos, man. So, hey, man. So here we are, man. Here we are with my new friend. It says Michael Domino. Don't pay no attention to that. This is Dack. How are you pronouncing your last name, Dack?
Rouleau is fine.
Rouleau, Dack. This is Dack Rouleau. Dack Rouleau is the creator of these wonderful videos, this wonderful video series on basically asking a simple question. This is for Julian Assange fans or lack thereof. This is about asking politicians right to their face, not sending them an email, not knocking on a door, not calling up and scheduling time, walking right up to their face and saying, what is going on with Julian Assange, and what is your position on Julian Assange? And look at the list. So if you're go to here's his page right here. He's only got 780 subscribers, in my view, well underrated. Hit his subscribe button. Let's get him over 1,000 so he can monetize. Dack Rouleau, Frenchman, and and so here's some of his stuff, man. So we got, look at this. We'll listen to. I listened to a few of them, most of them. I like De Blasio. You track down Andrew Yang was kind of interesting. Delaney, who gives a shit about that guy? And Bernie Sanders, he chased Bernie Sanders down. Got a real comment there too. Got actual insight rather than just bullshit. You got Amy Klobuchar, Pete Buttigieg, Tulsi Gabbard, Tom Steyer, Cory Booker, Mike Gavel. Shit is crazy, man. So what's up, man? So Dack, what got you into this, man? What brought you into chasing down politicians and asking them about Assange?
Well, it was about almost 3 months after Assange was arrested in London, and the corporate media still had not pressed these presidential candidates to comment on the issue, which I thought was absurd for a little while, and then I realized it was probably deliberate. It seemed like the corporate media was going out of its way to avoid talking to these politicians about this issue, because if the candidates were to stand up for Julian Assange, they would also be standing up against the military-industrial complex. And if they threw Assange under the bus, then that was going to show they weren't much different from Donald Trump, who's supposedly declaring war on journalism and declares journalists to be the enemy of the people. So they're pretty much caught between a rock and a hard place. And I decided I was just naturally curious. I wanted to know where Andrew Yang stood on the issue. So I went to an event he had in my hometown. And then a few days later, I was attending a parade, and John Delaney was actually there. And I decided I wasn't planning on it. I just thought, all right, I'll ask Delaney what he has to say about Assange. And he gave such a horrible answer, but I thought it really, it illustrated how corrupt these people were. So I decided at that point maybe it'd be worthwhile to go hunt down the other 15 or 20, however many were running.
Wow. And you do this on your own expense, obviously? You're not sponsored by anybody? Yeah. This is just a passion because of defense of journalism, per se, with Julian Assange getting a raw deal. He did so much. He did so much for the country. I mean, the Afghan war logs, the DNC stuff, I mean, it's just the list goes on, and is it a passion for Assange, or is it a passion for journalism?
A combination of the two. In the first place, no, I have nobody's paying me to do this. I've made about $11 in PayPal donations so far, but that's okay. No, it was I was happy to do it. It gave me a reason to get out of the house, and it gave me a feeling that I wasn't just sitting around wishing somebody would do something. I thought, all right, this is something I can actually do. You don't have to be a millionaire to do this here to make a difference, as the cartoons say. No, it was a combination of the respect I have for Julian Assange, because I've done so much research on what he revealed about the Democratic Party's corruption in 2016, and I think just as importantly, how the corporate media did not do its job in reporting on that. We got a little bit on the surface there when he showed how the DNC had screwed Bernie Sanders over on Hillary Clinton's obvious instruction, but we weren't told about Hillary Clinton's involvement. We weren't told about the corruption involving the selection of Tim Kaine. We weren't told about the incestuous relationship between MSNBC and the DNC. I mean, you could do a whole video just about that. But I was just horrified when I actually looked into it, which took me almost 2 years to actually get into the subject. So when he was arrested, I felt like it was the least I could do to go out and show him that I appreciate everything he did for us, even if the rest of the liberal class does not. And secondly, it's also just honest. I feel like I do think that any of us could be next. I mean, who's to say that the government won't eventually decide that those videos I filmed are illegal, or that this conversation we're having right now was not authorized by the authorities? And so I think if we don't take our stand now, we're going to be wishing we did later down the road.
Yeah. I wonder about it all the time. Right in our frame, I have right under my face and next to your face says Intel drop, and with my email address, and I'm basically doing, I would imagine, exactly what Assange was accused of doing, which is soliciting leads. That's all he did. That's all he did. He's guilty of journalism. 16. How many counts? 14. 13 of which were, I forget how many. He's
17 or 18, I think.
Right, 17, right? He's got 17 counts 16 of those counts are journalism, and one is an alleged assisted hack, which, I mean, I've read it all. I read the indictments, the first indictment. I read the second indictment with the multiple accusations, and it really is prosecution of a journalist doing journalism. And if found guilty, of course, there's no stopping it. I mean, they can forget about the New York Times. They'll come for us first, right? So lock people up because somebody gave you a tip, and then they'll say, well, where did you get that tip? You no longer have immunity to work with a source. That is now illegal. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, that is the. I think we all know that, but it's important to tell the ramification of what Julian Assange stands for, and it's not just the DNC. I mean, that's just the latest fiasco. So let's look at some of your videos so people know what the hell we're talking about. You want to start with Andrew Yang? We'll talk about Yang. 37 seconds.
That was the first of them, and that was probably the most notorious of the videos that I filmed. But yeah, absolutely. Kyle Kalinske did a piece on it.
Oh wow! All right, I love Kyle. He's a good dude. Let's. I think I remember that. I don't know where I found you, but I think it could have been Kyle. So let's. So here he is.
Oh yeah. Do you support Julian Assange? I think Julian Assange should stand trial.
Okay, the audio is extremely low on this.
I am generally pro whistleblower.
In the chat, give me a thumbs up if you can hear this. Give me a thumbs up, audio check, because I don't want to miss this. Hold on a second. I'm not sure why that shouldn't be that low.
Oh yeah. Do you support Julian Assange? I think Julian Assange should stand trial.
Sounds good to me.
I am generally
You're hearing it on your end out of the computer? Okay, all right. It's just my panic. Just chat. Give me a thumbs up if you can hear us. Okay, good. All right, good. You hear me, but you don't. Do you hear you? That's what I want to know. You hear you? Because I don't want to do the whole freaking thing and nobody can hear us. All right, so I'll play it again.
I think you're good to play the video. I think
All right,
you're
cool.
good.
Oh yeah. Do you support Julian Assange? I think Julian Assange should stand trial. I am generally pro whistleblower and pro people that try to call out bad behaviors. But in that particular case, he did end up disclosing some information that really had no useful purpose except for potential damage to our infrastructure, like the undersea cables locations and other things. So I certainly would not be in favor of I think he should stand trial. Thank you.
Right. So he's basically. So tell us what went on there. What went on with Andrew Yang? I mean, I heard what he said. He basically said what? What's he talking about? I don't know what's going on.
No, he said that he felt Assange should stand trial because although he's generally pro whistleblower, he felt that in that particular case, Assange revealed, quote, some information that had no useful purpose except for the undersea cables locations and some other things. So I would not be in favor of pardoning him. The undersea cables locations, by the way, I was not familiar with that specific accusation. The amount of slandering, misinformation, and propaganda that has been directed against Assange has been truly overwhelming. The undersea cables locations pertain to a leak several years ago that did not reveal undersea cables locations. It revealed corruption in the process of providing contracts for various military companies and organizations. The location of American cables underseas was already in the public domain. So the story was spun as Assange revealing critical, sensitive areas, and this was completely distorted. I'm not doing a very good job of articulating it right now, but Andrew Yang has bought into propaganda on that point, which showed that at best he's misinformed on this issue.
Right. Most of what Assange revealed is spun in a negative light. That everything is endangering, even the Iraq, the assassination video, where you see the helicopter very clearly flying over people that are unarmed and opening fire on them. They're running. There's no guns. There's no firing back. It's a slaughter, and they spun it as if there was some kind of national security breach. It's such bullshit, right?
Jamal Thomas talked about that in his video on Andrew Yang's statement on Assange. Because the reason I went out to Andrew Yang in the first place was because I didn't have high hopes for somebody like Pete Buttigieg, who may have connections to the CIA. I didn't have high hopes for Cory Booker, who's a close friend of Hillary Clinton. But Andrew Yang casts himself as a progressive, so I thought maybe he might be willing to say a kind word or two in Assange's defense. So I was honestly surprised by his rather authoritarian answer. It was very disappointing.
Yeah, no doubt. So if you're joining us late, we're here with Dack Rouleau, and we're checking out some of his videos of chasing down prominent politicians, all of which very, very name brand people. Andrew Yang. Let's look at De Blasio, Mr. New York.
Oh, yes.
Do you support Julian Assange? And if so, what measures would you take to support him once he became president?
No, I don't, honestly.
No?
No.
Why not?
So that was a definitive no, no, no.
Because I think...
Yes, De Blasio,
Well, let's just listen to it. Let's let people hear it, and then we'll talk about it. Let's let them.
Because I think, I believe very much that we have to address the issues that have been covered up, but I don't think the way you did it was the right way.
What do you think you could have done more effectively?
I think when it's issues where people's lives may be endangered or actual security might be endangered, there has to be some kind of limit. So I'm just, based on what I know, again, the impulse to get information out to the public that oftentimes the government should provide doesn't, that's a good impulse, but I think the way you did it was wrong. That's what I think.
Wow. He said, "I don't agree with the way he does it." How would you like us to do it, Bill? How would you like us to gently reveal war crimes? How would you like us to do it? Hand it to the, you know what I'm saying? So, what was that one all about?
Many people, in particular right-wing conservatives, they believe that they have a really gullible faith in the system for reporting that we have. They think that if you go through the appropriate channels, then you can blow the whistle without having to go to any kind of external entity. And Bill de Blasio shows his faith in that system, which I think was we saw this with Jeffrey Epstein. That when Jeffrey Epstein was actually taken to court, the prosecutors were told to lay off on him because he was well connected, and it was not in America's interest to take that man down. We've seen this with so many other prominent scandals that have taken place over the years. You have to go to an outside source. You have to go to the media, and that is what Chelsea Manning did. Mm-hmm. So for de Blasio to try to restore our faith in the American myth of transparency and fair-minded government officials, it was pretty obvious that he's going to be participating in the system.
Yeah, there's no. I mean, I listen to that, and it makes. I feel my blood get a little hotter. I feel like I get like you want to punch him in his face. What are you talking about? Haven't you been following the goddamn story? Haven't you been? What do you got? You got your head up your ass. How do you? The guy's revealing corruption. You're supposed to come to his rescue. You're not supposed to say there's a. That's a typical politician response. We need to find the easier, softer way. We need to talk it out. Fuck you, man. So here's Beto O'Rourke. No. No, what else? Go ahead, talk.
I was going to say that with de Blasio, it's also, he says that he doesn't feel Assange did it the right way. Well, I hate to break this to you, Mr. de Blasio, but you don't have the authority to decide how the law actually works. It's not your arbitrary interpretation of what someone should or should not do. The actions that Assange took were always protected legally, as illustrated by the Pentagon Papers case. We had the same problem with Tim Ryan. He said he felt that what Assange did was wrong. But again, your feelings we're supposed to deal with facts, not feelings here. So this was disturbing how they'll just rewrite the laws how they see fit.
Yeah, no doubt about it, man. Feelings. Feelings are the fact. That's because he's from New York and he's a snowflake. Let's listen to Beto O'Rourke.
Oh. So don't worry. As president, would you support Julian Assange? Would you differ from the Trump administration in his prosecution of him?
Straight up question. As president, would you support Julian Assange?
I just make sure that we do not treat the press as the enemy of the people, but that we also protect our elections, our democracy from attacks from without. I'm really concerned about the complicity, not just between the Trump administration and Vladimir Putin, but the close connection between WikiLeaks and the Russian security services. So, those are my feelings on the issue. Appreciate the question.
So he gave you the standard Russiagate narrative. Beto O'Rourke, in my view, says, where was this, by the way? Where was the Beto O'Rourke? I forgot to ask you. Like, where was, you caught de Blasio in New York, or did you catch him? Where'd you catch de Blasio?
No, all of this footage was obtained in New Hampshire.
Oh, okay.
Bill de Blasio was, what happened is, before, I live in New Hampshire, and obviously ahead of the primary, the politicians were swarming the state to do a bunch of events. Andrew Yang was just giving a speech in a bookstore. De Blasio was attending a parade, which John Delaney was also. Beto O'Rourke was actually, this was in September, he attended the New Hampshire Democratic Party convention, and everybody was there, actually, all, literally more than potential candidates attended, and so I just happened to catch him while Julian Castro was making a speech, and I got a few politicians that day, actually, Julian Castro, but the Russiagate aspect, he's certainly not the only candidate who's pushing the Russiagate narrative, even several months after the Mueller report debunked it. But to hear him, you can see that he actually does believe in Russiagate when he's speaking. He's not just spinning NSA talking points. He actually has firmly bought into this theory, and it has clouded his judgment so much that he's not going to stand up for Julian Assange. He becomes collateral damage in the Russiagate fiasco.
Isn't it shocking? I mean, you go from politician to politician, world leader to world leader, and you can't find a single one of them that, with the exception of Tulsi Gabbard, that they buy into a myth, and I mean that's what it is. It is. There's no concrete evidence that the Russians, the 12 GRU agents, swooped into the DNC and hacked. There's just no evidence of it. There's more evidence that it was planted there by CrowdStrike and the Clintons and rogue FBI people, but they all buy into it. They all buy into it, and I guess from their perspective, to not buy into it, and I think you alluded to it before, is to say that you're against the establishment because you don't blindly trust your own country, your own agencies. And I think that trap right there is the one that I think Trump, if nothing else, has exposed and avoids successfully. He says, no, that's bullshit. No, that's fake news. When they said, for example, recently they went to Trump and said, well, didn't the intelligence agencies tell you that Russia favors you and Bernie? And he said, "Oh, that's bullshit. That's fake news." Right? And and Bernie Sanders took the bait. He goes on TV and says, "Oh yeah, the Russians are," and he's shaking his finger at Putin. It makes you look so stupid, so shallow. You know what I mean? And
the neoliberal establishment wants us to believe that the DNC leaks of 2016 were as egregious as September 11th. They want us to believe that it was a national tragedy of comparable proportions, and those who do not buy into the official narrative, the kind of DNC leaks commission report, as it were, they want us to believe that those who reject that narrative are basically traitors to their own country. It's a kind of compulsory patriotism, much like we saw after 9/11, where if you did not support the invasions of Afghanistan and Iraq and the torture of detainees in Guantanamo, you were just un-American. We're getting the same attitude this time from the supposedly liberal class in the year in the 2020, and so that kind of compulsory patriotism, Trump does sidestep that to a degree, but he's also waving the flag and singing that he's proud to be an American at his rally. So the deep state kind of tolerates it to a certain extent.
Yeah, no, I'm just talking about Trump's public face. I mean, he's on the record. I love WikiLeaks. You could find the videos. I love WikiLeaks. WikiLeaks. I can't wait to get home and read the WikiLeaks. He's on the record saying that, but his actions, his State Department is doing this. Mike Pompeo.
Yes.
These are the guys prosecuting. He could call this off in a heartbeat. And when asked, what do you think about? I mean, there's the famous video of Trump saying, I don't know Assange. I don't know nothing. I don't know. It's not my thing. It's not my lane. Assange, I don't know. That's creepy. I mean, that's creepy when you think about, the people that support Trump and they go along with it. You want to drain the swamp, but you've got Mike Pompeo, the CIA spook, trying to make journalism illegal. You know what I mean? So. Let's keep going here. Let's look at that was Beto O'Rourke shit sandwich. I'll get to the Bernie Sanders one. That was a good one. I will make. There's Amy Klobuchar. I think she ran away from you. Well, she just gave you a flat no. That's his Amy Klobuchar.
Oh, but there's something disturbing though about Amy Klobuchar's flat no that is not seen within that video. When I asked Amy Klobuchar if she would support Julian Assange, she said no. Shortly before that, she told the New York Times she was asked about Julian Assange, and she gave an answer that suggested that she did defend Assange, that she disagreed with what Trump was doing. I can actually pull that up here. The New York Times Executive Power and Press. It was a piece about... Let me see. Oh, here we go. We have it right here.
Got it on an iPad? Just hold it up. We can see it.
No, I can't. It's on my
on your phone.
but I was going to read her official statement. It's okay. Here she goes. This is what she told the New York Times when she was asked about Assange. As the daughter of a newspaper man, I have always believed the role of journalists is critical to our nation's democracy. As part of my plan for the first 100 days of presidency, I have already committed to restore Attorney General Eric Holder's guidance on protection for journalists so that they are not jailed for doing their jobs. Yet when I asked her about Julian Assange, I said, will you pardon or support him if you're president? She just said no and walked away. So was she lying to me? Was she lying to the New York Times? Or is she lying to the American people?
Yeah, a little. I would say she's, a little of all of the above. I mean, it's creepy. She was shaky anyway. She's out of the picture, but here she is. Let's listen to her firm no.
Assange, will you pardon Julian Assange if you're president?
No.
You wouldn't.
Will you pardon Julian Assange? No. She's right. Was that Sam Cedar standing next to you? Let me see that. Wait, let me see that picture. It looks like Sam Cedar. Hold on a second. I think he's right in. With the glasses. I think that's Sam Cedar. No, it's not him. It looks like him.
Oh no, that was just some guy at the bar who asked if I would take her picture with him, and I said sure, because that would give me an excuse to get up close to her with a camera.
Right.
She was in the basement of a bar in a college town in New Hampshire. It was way overcrowded. It was I don't know how I was able to get that footage, but it's not a very comfortable situation.
Yeah, no, you're good at it. You're very skilled at this. So you got a talent getting in on people. Me, I don't have the patience. I mean, I go to burning rallies. I stand all the way in the back. I don't have, I just think I got to go to the bathroom. I'm not going to stand there and wait for these folks. But you did a good job.
You got to drive 45 minutes to the rally. You got to get there at least an hour early so you're in the front row. You got to stand and listen to the guy talk for 45 minutes. Then you got to put up with people's dopey questions at the end of it, and then you finally get your 10 to 30 second footage.
But
that's how much time went in, plus the 45-minute drive home.
This is good work. This is a volume collective work on just the blaring stupidity of name brand politicians on a topic that is very important and very on the tongue of most Americans. People want to know what the hell happened to this guy. Why is he being prosecuted? Let's listen to Julian Castro, Mr. Excellent.
Quick question for you, sir. Do you support Julian Assange?
It's a good question. Yeah, no.
Wow. He just laughed at you. That's a good question. What an asshole.
It's what they call shooting a fade away. He was muttering his breath as he walked away. This guy on YouTube named Yellow Brick Road who pointed that out. It's like if your wife says, "Were you at the bar with another girl last night?" and you go, "At bar, another girl." that was just a few hours before I confronted Beto O'Rourke. Again, wasn't expecting anything. This guy was an Obama department official. Right. I knew where his loyalties were. He's a Hillary Clintonite. He can't even stand up against Hillary Clinton's brazen Russiagating. I knew he wasn't going to stick his neck out for Julian Assange. But again, the point is you got to get these people on the record. It's important to show just how this is where the real collusion is. These guys are colluding with Trump's Justice Department to ensure that Assange rots in prison. And the more light you can cast on this, the better. I was hoping other people would join me at some point. I want people to go up to these candidates at their own rallies and confront them, but apparently it never came to fruition.
Yeah, no. You're doing a good job. So we're here, if you're just tuning in, we're here with Dack, and we're checking out his very interesting videos. hit the subscribe button. Subscribe to Jack. It's really interesting stuff. I stumbled on it. I don't know how. It looks like he's pointing more into also doing some commentary of his own. He's got a good radio voice, good face. So we're looking at the videos where he asks the fundamental question, what about Julian Assange? Asking name brand politicians. So you can go and look at them all. Look at Tim Ryan. What a nobody, but we'll listen to him.
Oh, this is interesting.
Thank you. I'm wondering if you support Julian Assange and if as
Do they know the camera's on? Do most of them know that the camera's in their face? That was a question I had for you.
Yeah, they did.
They do, okay.
president, you would take measures such as pardoning him or
Can't see his face.
I see this as part
You
of
can
the
in a moment.
Trump administration's war on journalism, and I'm wondering where you stand on that.
Can't hear him. No, can't hear him. I don't know what's going on. I don't know why. I think, you know what, I have a suspicion that when the Skype is on, it cuts away, it takes away from the audio.
Well, we were hearing it earlier. I'm not sure what happened, but
Yeah. Let me just cut your, I'm going to mute your mic for 1 second. Let's see if I get a bump in audio. No, not, nodding, nothing. All right, so we'll move on. We were doing good a second ago, so you can hear me, right?
yes, I can hear you.
Oh, okay, cool. Let's listen to Tom Steyer. That was a good one.
Okay.
All right.
I don't know enough.
Has been spying on us. Yeah. I think that's okay right now. I believe that privacy of Americans is 69 Do I not know enough about this to have an opinion about you want to go? No. You have to do the recognized things stuff I will.
Okay. Have a great night.
So that was, I thought that was a kind of an honest answer. He said, I don't know enough about it, and then he gave you politicians, journalists shouldn't be prosecuted. Yeah, it's just he gave you the I don't know what it wasn't. It was a little more warming of an answer than the rest of them. You agree? I mean.
No, not at all, actually. Because the thing is, again, the New York Times asked him the same question about Assange, and he said, quote, "There are few democratic safeguards as paramount as an independent and empowered free press. I steadfastly believe that protecting journalists is critical to a functioning democracy protected under our Constitution." And he goes on to talk about it. He also, someone on Twitter, I cannot remember this person's name, and I apologize for that. They pointed out to me that Tom Steyer is actually close friends with the Podestas. His name came up several times in the DNC leaks, and Chris Hedges actually explained that this guy, Tom Steyer, was a punchline in political lobbying circles prior to his presidential run. He was known as the quintessential sleazy lobbyist who was donating to Democratic causes in order to make himself look like a moralist when he was really a speculative scoundrel. No, Tom Steyer is quite conversant with Julian Assange. He has connections to the Podestas and presumably to Hillary Clinton. I'm pretty sure he knows everything about it. He just was. What happened was towards the end of my time coming up to these candidates, I noticed that they all started saying we don't know enough about the issue to comment on it. I think they realized that some of these candidates were getting held up under the microscope, and they didn't want to be publicly humiliated. So they decided that if they came across the guy who was asking about Assange, they were going to just pretend they didn't know anything.
Yeah, it's not surprising when you say. I mean, I had an experience working around a lot of rich people in the catering industry, unrelated to journalism and unrelated to life in general. And what you notice when you say, well, Tom Steyer has a connection to the Podestas and others. The fact is, rich people go to the same parties. Their kids go to the same schools. They vacation and they own condos in the same area. They live in the same gated communities. They live on the same block and on Park Avenue and Madison Avenue. So it's not, when you say, when you see pictures of Bloomberg and Trump, that's not unusual. You can go to any one of these elite parties that I've been to probably 400 of as a servant, as actually a catering captain, and you'll see them all in the same room. You'll see them all in the same room. I mean, they're approachable. You're not supposed to approach them, but you can approach them. And so what I wanted to say was that the illusion that there's this enormous, people are always shocked by the lack of separation between billionaires, and it isn't. It's very, very well documented at these events. It's all the rich, and it's there's more of the rich than there are the famous at these parties. And the rich people, when you're in the room, and the richest guy in the room is the most popular guy, not the celebrity that you see on TV. Those guys, they bow and they walk on their toes when there's a billionaire at a table. So it's pretty.
But if he's a product of that highfalutin environment and culture, then wouldn't that be where his loyalties lie? He wouldn't want to help the guy who exposed what the ruling class was doing. I mean, it's difficult for me to trust a guy like Tom Steyer if he's a product of that environment.
Yeah. It's funny. It's funny also. You say I think of an interview I saw of Bruce Springsteen. And they asked him. They used to piss him off. They used to ask Bruce. They said, "Oh, you got millions of dollars now. How can you possibly?" Because it's what they're doing to Bernie Sanders right now. How could you possibly stay in touch with the working class of America when you got $20 million in the bank? You made it, right? So how do you keep writing your bullshit songs, and how do you keep your connection? And it used to irritate him, and he finally said, "It's who I am. It's at the core." I'm not making a defense for Tom Steyer, right? Because allegedly he made his money, but there is. I think that the argument could be made about Bernie Sanders as well. It also could have been made about Jimmy Carter. Do they lose their touch with the fabric of America? And Springsteen, I don't think did, and I certainly don't think Sanders did, but I would agree that Tom Steyer maybe never even had it.
I wouldn't say, you don't necessarily lose your connection to that kind of working class struggle just because you become wealthy. I mean, I used to work in the service industry myself, and I'm no longer there, but I like to think that I still understand the mentality of the people in that industry, the struggles that they have, the anxieties for their future. I think I understand that. Mm-hmm. So no, it's not that Tom Steyer is a billionaire. That's the problem. That was my suspicion. It's his obvious comfort within that culture. That was the issue. But anyway.
Yeah, no doubt, man. So somebody in the comments said because the audio is a little low on the videos, maybe you can give the commentary as we watch it and tell us. That's actually a good idea. I apologize. I don't know why I'm playing it at the right volume. And let's listen to Pete Buttigieg. It looks like you caught him on the stage. So if you want to tell us.
I was able to get a question right from the audience.
As president, will you pardon Julian Assange? Will you commute his sentence? He is dying in prison, and he badly needs support in our government. He is a prosecuted Nobel Prize nominated journalist. What will you do to help him?
Good intro.
I'm not going to make any commitment as a candidate.
So what's he saying? Couldn't hear him.
Pete Buttigieg. What's that?
I can't hear what he's saying. Now, let me listen one more time. I want to hear him.
I'm not going to make any commitment as a candidate to pardon.
I'm not going to make any comments about pardons. Yeah, fuck you. So that's that, right? That was just nobody wants to nail it home and say. Let me ask you this: did you get anybody to say? I haven't looked at the Tulsi Gabbard one yet, but did you get anyone to say that Julian Assange is a hero, Julian Assange should be let out the back door, Julian Assange is innocent? Did any of these schmucks say that?
Well, sort of. Tulsi Gabbard did say that she would drop the charges against Julian Assange because it is an obvious attack on the freedom of the press. But I haven't read anywhere where Tulsi Gabbard said that he was a hero. I mean, there seems to be a distinction between support for what Assange is doing and criticism of what the Department of Justice is doing. So I don't think it's I don't think you're going to see a mainstream politician come out and say that Julian Assange is a hero or anything like that. But you are going to see mainstream politicians come out and say that the charges are unconstitutional. It's the best we can do at this point.
Right, no doubt about it. So let's keep going.
So, were you asking about Pete Buttigieg? What happened with him?
Yeah, Pete Buttigieg.
Yeah. Pete Buttigieg. I had no high expectations for him because he felt that Chelsea Manning should still be in prison. He said that in an interview with I think it was ABC News, maybe CBS, I can't remember, but he said he was quote troubled by Obama's decision to commute her sentence. So if he was that much of a sadistic, I won't even say the word, that he wanted to keep Chelsea Manning locked up in prison for another few decades, I didn't think he's not going to stick out his neck for Julian Assange. But there's a certain grotesquerie to this answer here where the audience is applauding him for refusing to support him after I said that Assange is dying in prison. It makes the audience look like a gang of bloodthirsty hyenas.
Yeah, no doubt about it, man. Well, the best part of Pete Buttigieg is that it's likely that it took us a week to pronounce his name, and now it's likely that he's gone for good. That's my suspicion. I think he probably got some kind of deal. The Democrats will probably support him for a Senate run or a Congress run. They'll cheat him in, cheat his way in. But for the most part, I don't think we'll be seeing him running for president again. That's pretty much over.
Yeah.
So.
This was a gimmick run for him, I think. The idea of the mayor going, it was just to promote his brand.
He's a good actor. He's a good political actor. Let's listen to, here we go, Bernie Sanders.
Oh, okay.
All right, I'm just going to mute it because that music is going to get us struck.
Man. Hey, do it. Do you support Julian Assange?
Right there, point blank question. Do you support Julian Assange?
I support Julian Assange.
Will you pardon him?
I can't say it, it's a long
Please, sir, please. Will you pardon him?
Right there. You asked him, will you pardon him? Will you pardon him? And he said, I can't answer that right here. I'm aware of the situation. Bernie Sanders, the only shit sandwich on the board who has a shot at the White House and people listen to, says, I am aware of the situation, but didn't answer in public. What do you think of that? Is he full of shit?
Well, here's the thing. For a long time, I was definitely piling on Bernie and saying that this was cowardly, this was disgusting. I did have an hour-long discussion with Mike Gravel, who's obviously a lot smarter than I am, and he said that if we look at the people with whom Bernie associates, we can trust that he would build a quality Department of Justice that would drop the charges against Assange. So that's Gravel's opinion, and I have to respect it. However, I must say this about Bernie Sanders. If he is serious about trying to bring about some kind of real sense of justice in this country, if he does want to drop the charges against Assange, if he wants to rein in the Pentagon spending, if he wants to do all these other things, if he wants to support Palestine, then clearly his campaign was completely unprepared to answer questions like this one. He didn't have any kind of solid strategy because he's been saying on the debate stage that he wants to look into the aid we give to Israel, and he's saying that the Palestinians need to be treated with respect. I would argue that that's a far more controversial stance to take than defense of Julian Assange.
Yeah, as you're speaking, I wonder if and this is not a critique of how you're asking the questions, but I do a lot of this kind of street stuff too. I have Trump hats, and I sneak up on people and I ask them questions. The long hair throws them off. They think I'm some kind of, stupid pothead that doesn't know what he's doing. He doesn't know the issues, right? So I have a way of sneaking up on people too. And I wonder, the way you're kind of, is if you approached them more like I don't know, like an arm around them saying, hey, so what do you think of that guy, Julian Assange? right? Because you're
Yeah.
coming at them. You're coming at them on an angle. Yeah, I'm trying to put it into perspective.
No, I get you.
You're sneaking up on someone, asking them a direct question on a handshake line, and
Yeah.
but to your point, you are asking an honest question, and someone who should have a position on that should be able to speak the truth right off the top of their head. You're going to tell me you don't know? I'm just wondering if the approach, if you ask them, I don't know, more like a kind of a handshake, kind of a different tone, or maybe a Trump hat, or a sexy woman, or you know what I mean, like something that throws them off, or you know what I mean. What kind of answer would you get? Because it does matter.
I understand what you're saying. The way I would ask the question would depend on the opportunity that was presented to me. Like with Pete, I always preferred to do it like Pete Buttigieg, where I am called upon in the audience to ask a question. So he's in the mindset of, I'm about to be asked a question, I have to be prepared to give an answer. Because you tend to get better material that way, at the very least. I also like to be fair with these people. I don't like to sneak up on them. I don't like to do the ambush journalism, like the Alex Jones thing. That's not my style.
Mm-hmm.
But in the case of Bernie Sanders, the problem is this. I've been to 3 of this guy's rallies, and he, at no point at any of those rallies did he ever take questions from the audience. He just made his speech and then he left. There are other rallies he's had where he has he's taking questions from the audience. But I mean, I am on limited time with these candidates. Like this was on my day off. I'm not doing this for a living, so I can't follow him 24 hours a day. I would prefer to be able to give him an opportunity. So this time, I didn't know when he was going to come back to New Hampshire. It was the only time I got to the front row. I figured I just had to go for it. And I wasn't saying it in any kind of like malicious way where it's like, hey, you jerk, how do you feel about Assange? I said Bernie, man, trying to like, let him know that I'm on his side, and I would have loved if he could have said a kind word about Assange. I always wanted them to say something positive, but unfortunately the situation dictated how I would ask the question. I tried again in the future. I saw that Bernie was coming to town, and I was hoping he would go to the same event that Tim Ryan did, because I knew I would get called on to ask a question. But unfortunately, if they don't make themselves available to people in the audience, then that's the only way to do it.
Yeah. In the comments, what's up, Sterling Price? Got a wrench? Don't be a dick in the comments and you won't get timed out. Sterling Price says, Sanders does have to play the DNC's game, or Perez has the power to disqualify him. That's a really good point. I was talking about that this morning, that Bernie is on a fine line, maybe finer than we think. Maybe even his life is in danger. It certainly was the last time, right? When he has no Secret Service around him, Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders, I mean, there's no Secret Service. He does
have private protection.
But he doesn't have that vast Secret Service, like he did towards the end of this 2016 cycle. Remember? He does have secret. I don't know if he has Secret Service at this point. Maybe he has a local cop or something. But you can get right. You can get right up close to him. So the point is that the question is, Sanders has to play that game because not only could his life be in danger, but that Tom Perez could. There's rules in the DNC where they could just, we don't like your face. You're not a Democrat and you're disqualified, and you're going to have to live with that. And they don't care about, at this point, I don't think they care about losing the election. I think they'd rather lose to Trump than win with Sanders, is my view.
What I would say is that's the same argument that Mike Gravel made. So who is this? This was Grant Sterling Price who asked the question. Okay, yeah. So to Grant, I would, or Sterling, excuse me. What I would say is that's the same argument Mike Gravel made. So if you check out my video, you'll hear that explained in full. And I understand that. But as I was saying a moment ago, it's odd to me how Bernie is not towing the line completely. Like, he will promote Russiagate. He won't say anything in defense of Assange. He won't stand up for Tulsi Gabbard. Yet at the same time, he's going to criticize Netanyahu. He's going to criticize the Israeli government. I mean, I again have to say that I think if a politician had to choose one of the two stances, he would feel much more comfortable standing up for Assange than he would standing up against Netanyahu. So I don't quite get Bernie's strategy here.
Yeah.
But as we see the other candidates dropping out to give all their firepower to Biden, the question is, was this worth it? Like, was it worth keeping his mouth shut on these issues? Because now Bernie Sanders' campaign is headed towards some very troubled waters.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think it's, what we saw on Super Tuesday. Now there's evidence. I just got somebody send me a report that there is now evidence on the table of cheating in Massachusetts, where the exit polls, based on the exit polls, way off. I'll say that because I'm going to do I'm trying to get the people that did the actual report to come live and talk to us. But it's scary. I mean, they hatcheted clearly evidence on the table based on CNN's exit polls, hatcheted Sanders and hatcheted Elizabeth Warren in favor of they elevated Bloomberg and they elevated Biden. Now that's it. If Bernie would have won Massachusetts and Maine and certainly Minnesota, we would have been talking. It would have been a different game because he won in all the right places. The Deep South doesn't matter in a general election to the Democrat. So evidence. That's evidence. Right? Exit polls are evidence.
The Democrats have not won in the Deep South since Jimmy Carter. The Democrats have abandoned that state, much like the Republicans have abandoned California. The Republicans are now a third party in California because there are independents and Green Party candidates who have greater clout than the Republicans in certain parts of that state. But as for Massachusetts, Bernie Sanders lost Massachusetts to Hillary Clinton in 2016 by less than 2% of the vote. It's very odd that the state would have swung so hard for Biden this time around. I'm not sure what that evidence. I haven't looked at the same evidence that you have on this point.
I'll send it to you.
The exit polling is very disturbing, and plus, after the shenanigans we saw in Iowa, nobody should be taking these results at face value.
Right. Yeah, I mean, Iowa was significant cheating. There's no doubt about it. What was that one town, Black Hawk or something, Black Hawk County, where the people that reported the numbers, the people that counted the numbers in the room, in the caucus. I was in Nevada, by the way. I was watching the Nevada caucus, how it works. But in Iowa, the people that gathered the numbers passed the numbers on to the Iowa Democratic Party. And then when they looked at the results that they had passed on, they were significantly different. And that Bernie Sanders, again, always takes the hit. Deval Patrick got some of the votes. Somebody else that wasn't even running got some of the votes. It's crazy. Right? It's cheating. Right? And the leader is not leading. Bernie Sanders is not leading. You have to call that out. Hey, we're being cheated again. These numbers don't add up. And you're not going to get that from Bernie.
Some footage just came out that showed Bernie saying that if Biden is the nominee, he will support him. Bernie Sanders, there are things about the man that I like, but there are other times where I just want to pull my hair out when I hear him talk. And in Massachusetts is a pretty staunchly liberal state, the only state that voted for McGovern in '72. I would think, and I live in neighboring New Hampshire, I would think that he wouldn't have had a hard time winning that state at all, especially after he won New Hampshire and won Vermont so handily. But this is how they're pulling the rug out from him in advance because they don't want to face a contested convention this summer. They knew that was a bridge too far. They knew that if the other candidates pooled their resources in Milwaukee to try to thwart him after he was if he was leading in the delegate count, it was going to inspire some people to take up their pitchforks. So they decided better to just rip the Band-Aid off now and make people come to a state of acceptance over the next 5 months.
Yeah. So I got, let's listen to Cory Booker. We're watching Dack Rouleau's videos approaching prominent politicians, asking them the question of the day, catching them a little off guard, a little off their game, surprising them with a question on Julian Assange. Here's Cory Booker.
Camera, the filming. So he cracks a joke.
Some people would say that. What does your arm say, though?
What does your arm say, though? What does your arm say? 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 What does your arm say?
This one says, since we don't know the things in life that may come, it may be that one day I'll no longer be anyone. And
That's one of those things that you got to think about.
well, it actually,
This one goes on and on.
Oh, does it?
I'm very concerned about the Trump administration.
5 minutes.
All right, so where does he gets to the where do you get to the Assange question?
We can watch like the first minute or two of it, and then it'll be over at that point, basically.
Oh, okay, all right. So that's all. I just want to hear that.
I'm very concerned about the Trump administration's war on journalism. And I'm really disturbed about what's happening to Julian Assange, who's being locked in solitary confinement and faces extradition to this country. So I'm wondering, as president, what are you going to do to defend this man who has done quite a bit to inform us about what our government is doing in our name?
This is not a legal case. I don't know as much as you do. So I'm not going to comment on that because I just
What a jerk off.
know people who broken our laws, that they should be held accountable, and people who broken our laws, we should be everything that people like to do, or not. It's a fair trial due process.
He gave you the shithead. He gave you the shithead lawyer answer. Oh, due process. Oh yeah, everybody.
Yeah.
What a cocksmoker. Sorry.
The reason I mentioned solitary confinement was because he had condemned solitary confinement earlier in the during the event. I asked. He had answered several questions, and he said it was a cruel and inhuman form of treatment. He was talking about criminal justice reform, innocent people being prosecuted. So naturally, Julian Assange fit in with that. He absolutely hates taking questions from the audience. He's a great public speaker, but he's terrible thinking on his feet. And again, this was part of that era when Tom Steyer and Deval Patrick both claimed that they didn't know enough about the Assange case to comment. Cory Booker was on Hillary Clinton's shortlist for vice president in 2016. So he obviously has some kind of close relationship to her. Again, I do not believe that this man is ignorant about an international criminal case that has been going on for the last 10 years. I do not believe that this man is that ignorant. He has to be more educated than that.
Yeah, it's not believable. They're all. It's a hot button subject. It's a hot button topic, and they're all doing the sidestep. They're all doing that sidestep. Where's the Tulsi Gabbard one? Is that Tulsi Gabbard on WikiLeaks? Is that the one?
No, that was about the OPCW scandal, which the one where she talked about Assange was the one where she's sitting with me. That's closer to the Delaney video. It's
Tulsi Gabbard on BDS. Tulsi Gabbard on BDS and First Amendment. Is that the one?
No,
where you're sitting down one-on-one with
her. Down to closer to the beginning. It's right after the John Delaney video, but it's at about. I can find the timestamp for you to go to because it's like a 7-minute video, but she talks about Assange only during one particular moment. Hang on, I'll find it.
The audio is just not. I can't even hear it. I really don't know why.
If you go to,
can you just let's just.
Have you found the video?
Let me just. I gotta try to fix this. It's really pissing me off.
That's okay.
There should be a way. Maybe there's another.
We were fine earlier. I'm not sure what changed.
Yeah. Auxiliary mic device. Desktop. Does that change anything? Nah, still low.
The stream is on a 10 to 20 second delay.
Yeah, I know.
So I can't hear it to test it.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. So it's kind of low, but here you are with Tulsi Gabbard, and does she do this? Just tell us what happened, so people can go and watch it. Go watch the video, and you don't have to you don't have to hear it here. You can go watch yourself. So what was your summation of Tulsi Gabbard on Julian Assange based on your 7-minute? That's pretty impressive. She ran away from me. I tried to interview her on a line, and she looked at me and she just ran the other way. literally ran away. She was jogging down
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
She was better about talking to the press at the beginning of her campaign. They tend to be better about that at the beginning. Then when it gets closer to crunch time, they become a little bit more furtive, I suppose. But in her case, she said that what we're dealing with is freedom of speech and freedom of the press. And if we don't defend those freedoms, then we are going to, obviously, if we have to actually defend them when they are under attack. And they are under attack in the case of Julian Assange. When I interviewed her, that was during 4th of July weekend, and at her speeches, she had talked about how these are the liberties that we're supposed to value, yet for some reason we do not. And it's because Assange's case is depicted as an issue that has nothing to do with the First Amendment. We're told that the assault on journalism and the assault on freedom of speech is abstract, like it's disconnected from Assange, that this guy might be in trouble, but it'll never happen to me, it'll never happen to you, and so on and so forth. I give Tulsi Gabbard credit, though, because she's been asked about this issue by many other people. You could just search on Twitter or YouTube Tulsi Gabbard on Assange, and you'll find other people's videos. And so it's good. She's been consistent on this issue from the beginning. She's been outspoken about it from the beginning, and it was the reason that I took an interest in her campaign. I understand that her campaign is dead in the water now because the DNC murdered it, but I give her credit for at least bringing the Assange's plight to the attention of those who were willing to listen to her speak.
Yeah, no doubt. She's actually in an interesting position right now because she has 2 delegates from the American Samoa.
Oh.
And that qualifies her, according to the DNC rules, to be on the debate stage on March 15, I believe, in Arizona. So how are they going to screw her? She's going to make a big stink about it. She's suing Hillary Clinton, and but she does qualify. According to the rules, she qualifies for the debate. So let's look at one more, and then the Mike Garber.
She won't be on that debate stage.
Say again?
She won't be on that debate stage.
No way.
She will not be on the debate stage. The DNC's rules are about as consistent as the rules of a drinking game. I mean, she's not going to have any. They're not going to allow her to go up there and have a third of the spotlight for 3 hours. They can't do that.
Right. All right. So I think we got them all. So again, if you're watching, this is Dack Rouleau. He's at 782 subscribers. Let me refresh it. Maybe you got a little bump. 7. Come on, hit the subscribe to Dack there. And these are his very interesting videos. It caught my attention. And I'm a subscriber, and I was it's. Oh, you've got Marianne Williamson too. I don't want to listen to her anymore. These are names that you should.
She was better than people gave her credit for. She was uninformed about a lot of things, but at least she was talking about how our problems go beyond the legislative branch. The problem is that now that those candidates have left New Hampshire, the primary's long gone, and they've moved on to other states, and now it's down to Bernie and Biden. I haven't had an opportunity to go and confront any of them, but I have said that as long as Assange's case is going on, I will be out on the campaign trail and confronting those politicians as often as I can. And so what we're doing now is my website is overwritten.org. On my YouTube channel, we have a series of overwritten reports going on with Christy Doff, who's another journalist and advocate for Julian Assange. And we're keeping the fire going for as long as we have to. As long as they want to menace Julian Assange, we're going to be banging on their doors.
Yeah. I mean, it is a shame. The state, just to bring everybody up to speed, the state of things right now is Assange is still locked away, solitary confinement in Belmarsh Prison in England. His trial is a kangaroo court. He's put in a bulletproof container off in the back where he can't even make eye contact with his lawyers. It's like not even being there. And again, the UN has verified that there is evidence of him being tortured, psychologically tortured. This is a tortured journalism. This is probably one of the greatest disgraces. And Britain is just going along with it. They picked the absolute worst judge to rule, and then they're going to extradite him to Virginia, where no one has ever won. No one wins in the court. It's like New York Southern District here. Nobody ever wins. You don't win. You go there to die. You go there they go there to bury the case. And that's statistics. So
Extradition trials in and of themselves are kangaroo courts because it's typically just a matter of asking, are you the person? They're not interested in your defense. They say that you'll be able to straighten that out when you get to the country in question. And it's ridiculous because one of the reasons we've protected that gentleman Felix from extradition to Turkey is because we know that he can't face he won't have a fair trial when he gets into Istanbul. Yet for some reason we think that Assange is going to face justice in the United States. The case is not even being covered. So who's to say that the media will even report on it when he gets here? And if he is brought here and he is convicted, the neoliberals will applaud, just like they did at Pete Buttigieg's rally. It's a disgusting situation. It's a low point for our country. It's a low point for our generation, and it makes me ashamed to be a citizen of the American empire.
Yeah. So what's going forward, Dack? What kind of is this your exclusive work? Is this your first shot out of the door? Or do you have any other kind of projects? Any other kind of questions you want to ask big politicians going forward?
Well, this is the major question I wanted to ask because it's not dependent on legislative action. The president can unilaterally drop the charges against Assange or commute his sentence, pardon him, however we have to do it. So that's pretty much the only question that I feel is worth asking personally. It's also very direct, so it should minimize the risk of fluff and dodging nonsensical answers. But no, at overwritten.org, I write quite a bit of commentary about where the American empire is headed. And recently I wrote an article arguing that the First Amendment has already been repealed. As soon as Julian Assange was dragged out of that embassy, the Trump administration set a precedent where you can at least be charged with some kind of crime, even if it doesn't mean that you're going to be convicted necessarily. It just means that you will be arrested, you will be charged, and you will be placed in solitary confinement for a year or more while you await your trial. So that I feel the First Amendment has been lost, even if the charges against Assange are dropped immediately. So we need to be vigilant about that, and we need to be aware of that.
Yeah, no doubt. All right. Thank you very much, Dack. It was a good conversation. Any questions for Dack in the comments before we let him go, let him get back to his life? Thank you for stopping by, man. It was good talk, man. It was good talk. It's this is what it's all about, man. It's about I guess discussion. You know, we sit in our own little cubicles in life, and we pontificate, but it's really good. I think that I think the work he did was valid. I think it's important. You know, to catch people when they're, you know, when they least expect it. What do you think about this? You shouldn't have to rehearse it. That's why I was a little surprised with Sanders. I think that he's probably one of the most integral of the bunch, but he seemed like he was hesitant for political reasons to comment. That's a sad day, you know. That he should have said yes, but of course, Mr. Dack should be released. And he should have said that, right? That's what you would expect. You would expect him to say that shit, right? So let's let people get into the. What's up, Sterling Price? Our leaders have assumed much power since the Nixon have assumed much power since the Nixon impeachment. I agree, man. I agree. They are killing him, says Carol Hayes. They're killing Assange. I think that's what his lawyer said, as Marcus says. Just all the best to you and Dack. Thank you, Grant Jarvis, excuse me. All right, man. So we'll let that go, man. I'll take you guys out. Thank you, Dack, for stopping by. Come by anytime. Keep up the good work. Subscribe over here to Dack Rouleau on YouTube. So what else do you want to plug? You got anything else you want to plug besides YouTube? You're on Twitter, you said? And you got a website?
You can follow me at Dack Rouleau. The links for my Twitter and website are on any of those videos that I posted of the candidates. So you can click on them and you'll find the links. The more recent videos, the better the source. And thank you for having me today. I've really enjoyed it, and I would love to come back sometime.
All righty. Thank you very much, Dack. Peace out, man. Peace out, Dack.
Bye-bye.
I'm going to take you guys out. It was good, man. That was a good guy, man. I fucking love that guy. Guy's doing the work of God. That's like God's work right there. Sneaking up on politicians, holding truth to power. That was the topic today. Holding truth to power. Because without that, you got nothing. Peace for Julian Assange. Thank you, everybody, for coming by. Thank you.